Madhurya Kadambini, A Cloud Bank of Nectar by Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. Seventh shower of nectar, flow of divine rapture. Text 1. A. Bhava, the sprouting of three potencies, Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. Thereafter, when asakti becomes completely mature, it is known as Rati. Another name for Rati is Bhava. This Bhava is the budding stage of three Swarup Shaktis: eternality or Sat, cognizance or Chit, and bliss or Ananda. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. In its fully ripened state, asakti transforms into Bhava. Bhava is also called Rati. Bhava is the budding stage of the three Swarup Shaktis, Sat, Chit and Ananda. In other words, it is the stage in which the three energies, Sandhini, Samvit and Ālādini, sprout in the heart of the sādhaka. In delineating the symptoms of Bhava, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has said, Śuddha-sattva Viśēṣātma Prem Suryamshu Samya Bhag Ruchibhis Chitta Matsaranya Krid Asau Bhav Uchyate. Sri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.3.1. When the heart is softened as a result of ruchi or taste, sadhan bhakti becomes bhava bhakti. This bhava bhakti is a special manifestation of Śuddha-sattva or Śuddha-sattva Viśesha. It is like a ray of the sun of prema bhakti. Bhava or rati is the sprout of sthāyi bhava, prema, and its transformation like sneha, man and pranay. These transformations lead all the way to Mahabhav, the highest stage of prema. With the intention of establishing this, the intrinsic characteristics or Swarupa Lakshan of Bhava are described with words Śuddha-sattva Viśēṣātma, a special manifestation of Śuddha-sattva, and the marginal characteristics or the Tadastha Lakshan of Bhava are described using the terms Prem Suryamshu Samya Bhag, that is, like a ray of the sun of Prema, and Ruchibhes Chitta Matsarana-krit, it softens the heart by various tastes. Sri Bhagwan possesses three potencies: Sandhini, that is existence, Samvit, that is cognizance, and Ālādini, or bliss. Here, the term Śuddha-sattva Viśesha refers to the essential portion of the cognizance potency, Samvit, endowed with the essential function of the great potency known as Ālādini. In his commentary on the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu verse, beginning Śuddha-sattva Viśēṣātma, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura writes as follows. While practicing the previously mentioned sadhan bhakti, the heart melts with taste or ruchi, meaning a desire to attain Krishna, that is Bhagavad Praptyabhilasha, a desire to do what is favorable for Krishna, or Anukulya Abhilasha, and a desire to serve the Lord with intimacy, or Saudharya Abhilasha. It is to be understood that the sadhak has attained the stage of Bhava Bhakti. Bhava Bhakti's intrinsic nature or Swarupa is Śuddha-sattva Viśēṣātma. The term Śuddha-sattva indicates the self-manifesting cognitive function or samvit-vritti of Bhagwan's internal potency. The term Śuddha-sattva Viśesha indicates the spiritual pleasure potency or Ālādini, which is yet another great internal potency of Bhagwan. It is to be understood that Śuddha-sattva Viśesha includes even the topmost stage of Ālādini, Mahabhav. The supreme function, which is full of a desire to do what is beneficial for Sri Krishna, which is the essence of the combination of the Samvit and Ālādini potencies, and which is situated in the heart of Bhagwan's eternal associates, being indistinguishably unified with the condition of their heart, or Tadatmya Bhav, is known as Shuddha-sattva Visheshatma. To reiterate in simple terms, the eternally perfect mode of service or Nitya-siddha Bhava, which resides in the heart of Sri Krishna's eternal associates, is called Shuddha-sattva Vishesha. This Bhava Bhakti is like the first ray of the sun of Prema. For this reason, it has been called the sprout of Prema. In Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita 5.1, Śrīla Bhaktivedānta Thakur has explained the above mentioned verse in a simple, straightforward way. Prema Bhakti is the real fruit of Sadhan Bhakti. This Prema Bhakti has two stages, Bhava and Prema. If Prema is compared to the sun, then one can understand Bhav to be the initial ray of that sun. Bhav, the Swarupa of which is Vishuddha Sattva, or sublimely pure existence, melts the heart of the sadhaka through ruchi. The continuous cultivation of activities performed in a mood favorable to Shri Krishna's well-being, or Krishna Anushilan, was previously described as a generic characteristic of bhakti. But when that same Krishna Anushilan attains the nature of Vishuddha Sattva and softens the heart of sadhaka with ruchi, it is known as bhava. When bhava manifests in the disposition of the heart or manuvritti, it attains oneness with it. Although in reality, bhava is self-manifesting, it appears to be something that comes into being because it manifests itself via the heart's disposition. Although rati, another name for bhava, itself is the object to be tasted, it is accepted as the cause by which one tastes the object or vishay of rati, Bhagwan Shri Krishna. Here it is to be understood that this rati is the ecstasy of spiritual reality or chit tattva. It is not a tattva belonging to this inert material phenomenon. The attraction the conditioned living entities experience for inert objects is merely a perverted transformation of spiritual rati and is due to their contact with dull matter. When the sadhaka in the world cultivates devotional service to Bhagwan, that rati, through the samvit portion of the internal potency, becomes the cause of his relishing topics related to Bhagwan. And through the ahladani aspect of internal potency, rati bestows ecstasy or ahlad upon the sadhaka. Text 1b. Bhava is rarely attained or sudurlabha, and it makes liberation seem trifling or moksha laghuta-krita. Sanskrit Bhav Anuvad. Furthermore, this bhava is said to be like the fully blossoming flower of the wish-fulfilling vine of bhakti. Indeed, the radiance characteristic of this flower is that it is most rarely obtained or sudurlabha and makes even liberation seem trifling, that is, moksha laghuta-krita. Even an atomic particle of this bhava completely destroys the darkness of ignorance at the root. The flower of bhava emanates a charming fragrance that invites Sri Madhusudan, causing him to manifest directly before the devotee. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura also states that bhava or rati is like the blossomed flower of the wish-fulfilling vine of bhakti. The external brilliance of this flower of bhava is sudurlabha, meaning that bhava is most rarely attained. By one's extensive practice of sadhan and by the mercy of sadhu, guru and Sri Hari, one obtains the extremely rare wealth of bhava. The internal brilliance of this flower is moksha laghuta-krita, meaning that the bhava renders insignificant even the liberation jnanis and yogis attain after great difficulty. Therefore, the two characteristics of bhava bhakti are moksha laghuta-krit and sudurlabha. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has said of moksha laghuta-krit in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.33. When a bhava bhakti awakens in the heart even slightly, the four objects of human pursuit, namely dharma, that is duty in accordance with religious principles, artha or wealth, Kama or desire for sense pleasure, and moksha, emancipation, appear as insignificant and worthless as a straw. He has quoted the following evidence from Śrīnārad Pañcaratra, quoted in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.34. All types of liberation, all mystic perfections, and all varieties of material enjoyment follow like maidservants behind the great queen Bhakti Devi. In reference to this characteristic of Sudurlabha, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has said in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1.1.35, a person cannot obtain devotion to Sri Hari even after forsaking attachment to material sense objects and engaging in numerous spiritual practices over an extended period of time. Moreover, Sri Hari does not easily bestow bhakti to him. For these two reasons, Hari Bhakti is rarely obtained. As long as one does not develop a deep attachment to attaining Prema Bhakti, Sri Hari does not bestow it. Upon attaining just one atomic particle of this Bhava Bhakti, the total darkness of ignorance and nescience in the heart is completely dispelled. The fragrance of this transcendental flower of Bhava reaches the spiritual world, where its nectareous pollen invites Bhagwan Sri Madhusudan to come and taste its honey, thus making him appear before the devotee. In other words, a bumblebee becomes so attracted to the fragrance of the blossoming flower that it becomes intoxicated by it. It approaches the flower and with great relish drinks its honey. Similarly, Bhagwan Sri Madhusudan is attracted to the fragrance emanating from the flower of Bhava within the heart of the devotee. He personally manifests in the devotee's heart and drinks the honey of that flower, thus becoming intoxicated. Text 1c. A heart melted with bhava drenches the limbs of Bhagwan. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. What more can be said? The tendencies of the devotee's heart or citta-vritti are like a heap of sesame seeds. Bhava causes these tendencies to become fragrant and melt, becoming oil, and thus capable of immediately drenching all the limbs of Sri Bhagwan with affection. When this bhava manifests, it makes its recipient worshipful for Lord Brahma and others, even if that recipient is a chandala or an outcast dog eater. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. Moreover, this bhava melts the devotee's heart, likened here to a heap of sesame seeds, so fully that Sri Bhagwan's entire body is drenched with affection. This bhava is so pure that it can manifest anywhere, irrespective of birth, even within the heart of an outcast dog-eater, making that person worshipful for even Lord Brahma. Text 1d. A vision of Bhagwan through all one's senses. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. When this bhava awakens, the Jatarati Bhakta, or one in whom bhava has arisen, relishes the darkish complexion of Rajendra Nandan Shri Krishna's limbs, the reddish hue of his eyes and lips, the whitish brilliance emanating from his smiling, moon-like lotus face, and the yellow luster of his cloth and ornaments. In this way, he experiences Shri Krishna as being near to him. The devotee's voice becomes choked and he drenches his body in a continuous flow of tears. Sometimes that devotee hankers to make as the ornaments of his ears the sweet sound of Shri Krishna's flute, the tinkling of Shri Krishna's ankle bells, the melodious speech emanating from Shri Krishna's sweet voice, and Shri Krishna's direct order to serve his lotus feet. Searching them out, the devotee circumambulates different places, and time and again he stops, pricks his ears and stands motionless to try to perceive the sound. Sometimes he wonders, what will the touch of the lotus hands of Rajendra Nandan Shri Krishna be like? In his ecstasy, as if experiencing that touch, all the hairs on his body stand on end. He sometimes thinks he is experiencing the beautiful fragrance of Shri Krishna's transcendental body. Flaring his nostrils, he inhales time and again in order to become familiar with that fragrance. And sometimes he thinks, "Alas, alas, will I ever be fortunate enough to taste the nectar of Sri Shyama Sundar's lips?" His tongue then proceeds to lick his lips in immense happiness, as if they bear that nectar. Sometimes, within his heart, he obtains a momentary vision or spurti of his beloved Sri Krishna, thinking that he has directly achieved him. His heart begins to dance in happiness. At that time, he becomes delirious at the thought that he has attained the wealth of relishing Bhagwan's sweetness. And again, when that momentary vision disappears, he becomes restless and full of lamentation. Thus, such a devotee in whose heart bhava has awakened decorates his soul with the various sanchari bhavas or ecstatic emotions that rise and fall in the ocean of one's eternal mood, and thus becomes beautifully situated. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. As if directly relishing the 5 sense objects related to Sri Krishna, his form, taste, bodily fragrance, voice and touch, the sādhaka in whom bhava is awakened adorns himself with the ornaments of various ecstatic emotions. That devotee considers that he has attained close proximity to Sri Krishna. It is as if he were directly experiencing the sweetness of the beauty of Sri Krishna's dark complexion, the sweetness of the reddish hue of his lips and eyes, the whitish brilliance of the gentle smile on his moon-like lotus face, and the golden luster of his cloth and ornaments. With great excitement, he bathes himself in the uninterrupted flow of tears pouring from his eyes. Such a sadhaka desires to hear the sweet sound of Sri Krishna's flute, the tinkling of his ankle bells and waist sash, the sound of his mellifluous voice, and his instructions to serve him. The devotee thus pricks up his ears and focuses his hearing up and down, side to side. Sometimes, upon feeling the delicate, sweet touch of Krishna's lotus hands, the hair on his body stands on end. Now I will attain Sri Krishna. Now I will attain Sri Krishna. Such is his condition. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.1.9, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has stated, Ratir Ananda Rūpāeva. The stage at which Rati or Bhava awakens is verily the form of supreme bliss. The sadhaka endowed with Rati experiences unlimited jubilation by receiving an internal transcendental vision or spurti of Sri Krishna. Sometimes, upon attaining such a spurti, he becomes maddened, having tasted Bhagwan's sweetness, and other times, upon not receiving a spurti of Sri Krishna, he becomes exceedingly morose and depressed. In this way, many sanchari bhavas or transitory ecstatic emotions like jubilation and despondency appear in the body of that sadhaka. Decorating himself with these bhavas, he thus becomes beautifully adorned. One can observe the following 33 sanchari bhavas in such a devotee. 1. Indifference or nirveda. 2. Moroseness or vishad. 3. Humility or dainiya. 4th. Guilt or glani. 5th. Fatigue or shrama. 6th. Intoxication or mada. 7th. Pride or garva. 8th. Doubt or shanka. 9th. Apprehension or tras. 10th. Intense emotion or aveg. 11th. Madness or unmad. 12th. Forgetfulness or apsmriti. 13. Disease or vyadhi. 14. Bewilderment or moha. 15. Death or mrityu. 16. Laziness or alasya. 17. Inertia or jadya. Bashfulness or brida. 19. Concealment of emotions or avahitha. 20. Remembrance or smriti. 21. Argumentativeness or vitarka. 22. Contemplation or chinta. 23. Attentiveness or mati. 24. Patience or dhriti. 25. Jubilation or harsha. 26. Eagerness or autsukya. 27. Fierceness or agrya. 28. Anger or amarsh. 29. Jealousy or asuya. 30th. Restlessness or chapalya. 31. Sleep or nidra. 32. Deep sleep or supti. And 33. Wakening or awareness, that is bodha. It is only at the stage of rati that the devotee is truly called a sādhaka. The symptoms of a sādhak bhakta have been described in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu in 2.1.276. Utpanna ratyah samyak nair vignyam anupagatah Krishna sakshat kritau yogyah sādhakah parikirtitah. Those devotees in whom Krishna Rati has awakened, but whose obstacles have not yet been completely eradicated, and who have attained the qualification to have direct audience of Krishna, are known as sadhakas. The following example from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.1.278 illustrates this. O intelligent person, do not worry that the blazing flames of the forest of fire of material existence continue to exist, despite your becoming drenched in tears that fell when you heard a river-like flow of narrations about Sri Bhagwan. Extreme horripilation that resembles many fish dancing can be seen on your limbs, and thus it seems that very soon the black cloud or Krishna Megha, which is filled with a shower of mercy that destroys the hankering for worldly nectar, will arise in the sky of your heart. In other words, when tears flow in a continuous stream as a result of hearing narrations about Sri Bhagwan, there is no need to worry about worldly bondage, because very soon Sri Krishna will bestow his mercy. At the stage of rati, Hari Katha tastes like nectar, and the desire for anything else vacates the heart. Text 1e. Remembrance of Bhagwan in wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. The intelligence of the devotee who has attained bhava is incessantly fixed on attaining his soul-cherished goal. In each of the three states of consciousness, wakefulness, dreaming and deep sleep, he remains a traveler on the path of constant remembrance of Sri Bhagwan. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. The Jatarati Sadhaka reaches a state in which remembrance of Sri Hari proceeds in an uninterrupted manner, or dhruva anusmriti. Since he receives an uninterrupted internal vision and continual realization of Rajendra Nandan's intrinsic beauty or Swarup Lavanya, whether he is asleep, awake, or in deep sleep, he is always restless to obtain the service of Sri Krishna's lotus feet. His remembrance of Sri Krishna does not break for even a moment. Bhagwan Sri Kapil Dev has described Dhruva Anusmriti as symptomatic of devotion that is beyond the three modes of material nature, or Nirguna Bhakti. Madgun Shruti Matrena Mai Sarva Guhashaye Mano Gatir Avichinna Yatha Gangam Bhaso Ambudu. Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya, Śrīmad Bhagavatam 3:29, 11 and 12. Just as the water of the Ganga flows naturally towards the ocean, similarly, simply upon hearing about my transcendental qualities, the mind uninterruptedly flows like a stream of oil towards me, the super soul dwelling in the heart of all living entities. This is the symptom of Nirguna Bhakti. The Jatarati Sadhaka's remembrance of Sri Krishna is never checked, whether he is awake, dreaming, or in deep sleep. In the vacant state, the mind of ordinary persons remains absorbed in mundane forms, tastes, sounds, and so on. But the mind of a sadhaka endowed with rati or bhava does not become attached to perishable, tasteless material affairs and objects. Rather, it remains continuously absorbed in thoughts of Bhagavan. In the wakeful state, the external senses such as the eyes, ears and nose remain alert and active. Therefore, the sense objects of this world such as forms, fragrances and tastes appear real, and what one wishes for remains a non-reality. But in the sleeping state, the five senses remain unconscious, so it is an opportune time for the brain to generate a wide variety of thoughts. In this state, the mind is detached from external activity, so it wanders within the subtle world, free from gross attractions. In the wakeful state, whatever images the mind takes in, due to its contact with the external senses, appear in the sleeping state in one's dreams. Since the heart of the sadhaka who has developed bhava is completely free from worldly concerns and worries, only the names, forms, qualities and pastimes of Sri Hari appear in the flow of his thoughts. Worldly objects do not. Therefore, even in the dreams of a Jatarati sadhaka, Bhagwan's names, forms, qualities and pastimes appear naturally. In the state of deep slumber, the gross senses as well as subtle designations, the mind, intelligence, heart and even the false ego are completely asleep and thus remain inactive. Consequently, no thoughts enter the mind at that time, but remembrance of Bhagwan occurs in the soul of the Jatarati sadhaka even in deep sleep. Text 1F. A supremely pure sense of identity, that is I, and possessiveness, that is mine. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. At this stage, the devotee's conception of his self or ahamta enters his perfected spiritual body, that is siddha-deha, which is suitable for his cherished service to Bhagwan and which he will attain at Vastu Siddhi. That devotee continues to live in this world, having almost given up the body in which he is performing sadhana, that is sadhak deha. His feeling of possessiveness or mamata in regard to Sri Krishna awakens by begging for the honey of his lotus feet. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. The two states of ahamta, a sense of identity or I, and mamta, a sense of possessiveness or mine, attach themselves to the body and the objects related to the body. In other words, when the living entity cultivates the false ego, that his present body, which is made of five material elements, earth, water, fire, air and ether, in his real self or I, and that his wife, children and other comforts for sense gratification are mine, the resulting condition is known as material existence. The Brahmagyanis, that is, those endowed with the knowledge of Brahma, burn these two tendencies, due to which they feel a false sense of proprietorship in the fire of knowledge and thus they become liberated. The living entity's practice of bhakti awakens his pure nature as a servant of Bhagwan. In other words, it awakens his perfected eternal identity. The sadhaka now performs the limbs or angas of bhakti such as Shravan and Kirtan with this self-conception. The perfected eternal identity of the devotee in whom bhava has arisen automatically manifests as a momentary vision or spurti in his heart. His perfect self-conception matures to such an extent that, although he remains in this world, he almost completely renounces, that is, no longer identifies with his present body as a sadhaka. His sense of possessiveness is absorbed in relishing the nectar honey of the lotus feet of the divine couple, such as the bumblebee is absorbed in relishing pollen. The sadhaka who has developed bhava becomes almost completely free from a sense of identity, that is I, in relation to his material body, which is made of 5 elements. He also becomes almost entirely free from a sense of possessiveness for anything related to it, that is mine. To maintain a conception of I and mine in relation to this material body is the bodily conception of life. The Jati-rati sadhaka becomes free from this misconception. However, his true conception of I really deepens only in his perfected spiritual body, his siddha-deha, which is fully suitable for serving Sri Krishna. A material body cannot render transcendental service to the divine personality of Godhead. On achieving complete perfection in sadhana, the sadhaka receives a spiritual body known as the siddha-deha, which is fit for rendering direct service to Bhagwan. While meditating on the siddha-deha, the sadhaka renders service to Sri Krishna that nurtures his desired mood. That body is also called antaschintit-deha, or the internally contemplated spiritual body. The spiritual body of those on the path of ardent spontaneous devotion or raganuga marga in Madhur Bhav is that of a young cowherd maiden of Vrindavan. In this process of worship, the sadhaka maintains the self-conception of being a maidservant of Srimati Radharani. The Jati-rati Bhakta regards this perfected body as his real identity and becomes almost free from identifying with his present body. A strong sense of possessiveness or mamata for serving Sri Krishna's lotus feet awakens within him. Text 1g. Despite attempting to conceal the jewel of bhava, it is identified by the learned. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. At this stage, the devotee behaves like a miser who has attained the great jewel of bhava and is attempting to hide that bhava from others. But just as a bright forehead indicates internal wealth, the characteristics that take shelter of him, such as tolerance and renunciation, allow learned saintly persons to identify a devotee who has reached the stage of bhava, the Jati-rati Bhakta. However, since to the general populace he appears to be deranged and intoxicated, ordinary people cannot easily identify his actual spiritual position. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. The devotee conceals his internal mood, but when Rati awakens, many symptoms manifest in him that he cannot conceal despite his endeavor. Persons who know the conclusive truth about devotional service or bhakti tattva easily identify those symptoms, but ordinary persons who lack knowledge of bhakti cannot. Rather, due to their misunderstanding, they consider such a devotee to be insane and intoxicated. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 1, 3, 25 and 26, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has described some of the symptoms of Jati-rati Bhaktas. Shantir avirth kalatvam, viraktir manashunyata, asha bandh samutkantha, namagane sadaruchihi, asaktis tat gunakhyane, प्रीतिस तद वसति स्थले इत्यादयो अनुभवा स्युर्जात भावांकुरजने. The following 9 symptoms manifest in the heart of a sadhaka in whom bhav or the sprout of prema bhakti has arisen. 1. Kshanti or forbearance. 2. Avyarth kalatva or not wasting any time. 3. Virakti or detachment from worldliness. 4. Man shunyata or freedom from pride. 5th, Asha Bandha or firm hope of receiving Bhagwan's grace. 6. Samutkantha or longing for one's desired object, that is Sri Bhagwan. 7th, Namagane Sadaruchihi, a perpetual taste for chanting Bhagwan's holy name. 8th, Asaktis Tat Gunakhyane or attachment to narrations of the divine qualities of Bhagwan. And 9th, Pritis Tat Vasati Sthale, that is, love for the pastime places of Bhagwan. When the mind remains undisturbed in the face of all reason, to become angry or agitated, it is called kshanti or forbearance. An expertise in avoiding entanglement in the various worldly activities of sense gratification and in using one's time exclusively in Bhagavad Bhajan is known as avyarth kalatva, or a concern that time should not be wasted. A natural distaste for sense objects such as mundane sound and touch is known as virakti or renunciation. Absence of false ego, despite being endowed with excellence, is called manya shunyata or absence of pride. The strong expectation that one will most certainly attain one's cherished desire of service to the lotus feet of Bhagwan is called asha, bandha or firm hope. The strong greed to attain one's desired object is known as samutkantha or great eagerness. Ardent, loving attachment to chanting Nama Sankirtan is called Namagane Sadaruchi. A natural attachment to narrations of the sweet names, forms, qualities and pastimes of Bhagwan is called Asaktis Tat Gunakhyane. A strong desire to live in the places where Bhagwan Shri Krishna has performed his pastimes, such as Shri Vrindavan Dhama, is called Pritistat Vasitistale. These symptoms are seen in sadhakas as soon as the mere sprout of this rati awakens in their heart. A person may display the symptoms of shedding tears or horripilation, but if the above mentioned 9 symptoms do not manifest in him, then it is to be understood that the rati has not yet awakened. It is a softening of the heart that is the actual root symptom of rati. In certain circumstances, one may see symptoms such as tears and horripilation in karmis who desire enjoyment and in jnanis who desire liberation. But this should not be mistaken as indications of rati. Rather, one should regard them as a mere semblance of rati or ratya abhasa. Ratya abhas is of 2 types, a reflection of semblance of rati or pratibimba ratya abhas, and a shadow of semblance of rati or chaya ratya abhas. When symptoms such as shedding tears and horripilation are observed in persons who desire material enjoyment and liberation, such symptoms are to be regarded as pratibimba ratya abhas. If one observes that persons who are ignorant have developed these same symptoms due to their association with devotees, one should understand such symptoms to be chaya ratyabhas. Sometimes we observe that those who by nature wear their heart on their sleeve will shed tears upon hearing narrations of Sri Bhagwan's pastimes. Others practice how to display false symptoms such as tears, horripilation and shivering in an endeavor to deceive others. Neither qualifies as ratyabhas. On the other hand, the symptoms of tears and horripilation may not be observed in devotees whose hearts are grave, even though rati has awakened within them. It is, therefore, to be understood that the above mentioned 9 anubhavas such as forbearance, shanti, are the true symptoms of the awakening of rati. Experienced realized saints can discern this awakening by noticing these symptoms in the sādhaka. Since ordinary ignorant people view such devotees as totally mad or intoxicated, they are unable to perceive their true spiritual position. Text 2. A. Bhava that arises through raga bhakti and bhava that arises through vaidhi bhakti. Sanskrit Bhav Anuvad. Bhava also is of 2 types. 1. Raga Bhakti Uttha, that is, awakened by following the process of ardent spontaneous devotion, and 2nd, Vaidhi Bhakti Uttha, or awakened by following the process of regulative devotion. The first type, Raga Bhakti Uttha Bhava, is intense in both quality and magnitude, because there is no veneration of Bhagwan's godhood or dominion or knowledge of his other glories as described in the scriptures. In this way, the mood of considering oneself equal to or greater than him makes his bhava very condensed. The second type, where the Bhakti Uttha Bhava, is in both quality and magnitude somewhat inferior to the first. since knowledge of Sri Bhagwan's divine majesty undermines one's sense of possessiveness or mamata for him, that is, weakens it. The second type of bhava is not as condensed as the first. These two bhavas manifest respectively in the hearts of two types of devotees who have either of these spiritual aspirations, and they relish them in two separate ways. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. Sadhan bhakti, or the practice of devotion, is of two types. One, ardent spontaneous devotion or raga bhakti, and second, regulative devotion or vaidhi bhakti. Raga bhakti is filled with greed or lobhamai, whereas vaidhi bhakti is impelled by the instructions of the scriptures or shastra shasanmai. In this way, bhav is of two types. One, awakened by spontaneous devotion, that is raga bhakti, and second, awakened by regulative devotion or vaidhi bhakti. In terms of quality and magnitude, bhava awakened by raga bhakti is far superior to the second type of bhava, which is awakened by the practice of vaidhi bhakti. In vaidhi bhakti, the practitioner regards Bhagwan as the supreme controller and thus develops a mood of awe and reverence towards him. He is therefore unable to relish Bhagwan in an unobstructed manner. Any feelings of possessiveness or mamata such a devotee has for Sri Hari are impeded by knowledge of his divine majesty. In Raga Bhakti, however, knowledge that Sri Krishna is the supreme controller does not arise in the devotee. As a result, the devotee's affection for him is devoid of feelings of awe and reverence. Their relationship is likened to the affectionate relationship between near and dear ones in the material world. Moru putra, moru sakha, moru pranapati. Krishna is my son, Krishna is my friend, Krishna is my dear most beloved. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela 4:21. Consequently, such devotees taste his sweetness without constraint. In this way, two types of bhava awaken, either by the practice of vaidhi bhakti or by the practice of raga bhakti, in devotees whose hearts are filled with the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Lord, thus enabling them to taste Bhagwan's sweetness according to their respective inclinations. The import is that the type of bhava that arises through the practice of regulated devotion or vaidhi bhakti is not so condensed, because it has 1. A proclivity for devotion born of a fear of transgressing scriptural injunctions, and second, a love that is mixed with knowledge of Bhagwan's divine majesty. Since in this type of devotional service, knowledge of Sri Bhagwan's majesty is present in the sadhaka's heart, his feeling of possessiveness or mamata for him is slackened. A feeling of hesitancy stays in the heart of the sadhaka, and he remains ever dependent on the rules and regulations of scriptures. Therefore, Sri Bhagwan is never controlled by such vaidhi bhakti. The scriptures supply hardly any evidence of devotees who obtained Sri Krishna by practicing vaidhi bhakti. The bhav that is awakened by this vaidhi bhakti is therefore not accepted as being concentrated. Devotees belong to one of those two distinct categories based on the path of devotional service they undertake. They are either followers of raga bhakti or vaidhi bhakti. These two types of devotees maintain different spiritual aspirations of heart. The heartfelt aspiration of the devotee on the path of raga bhakti is free from any sense of desire for personal happiness and consists entirely of concern for Sri Krishna's happiness. On the other hand, a desire for personal happiness is prevalent in the heart of the devotee on the path of vaidhi bhakti. The culmination of his heart's aspiration is to become free from worldly miseries or to obtain liberation from material identification. Therefore, according to these different aspirations of heart, two different types of bhava manifest. The respective devotees relish these two bhavas differently. Text 2b. Categories of bhava. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. Just as condensed rasa enters mangoes, jackfruits, grapes, sugarcane, and so forth, thus giving each a unique flavor and sweetness, similarly, devotees are of 5 categories according to the speciality of bhava they possess: shanta or passivity, dasya, servitude, sakhya, friendship, vatsalya, parenthood, or priyasi or amor. Those in the mood of neutrality experience shanti or tranquility. Those in the mood of affectionate servitude experience priti or affection. Those in the mood of friendship experience sakhya or friendship. Parents or elders experience vatsalya or parental affection, and the beloved damsels or preyasis experience priyata or transcendental amorous love. In this way, the distinct nomenclature for each of the bhavas is given. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. The bhaktas possess different types of aspiration to serve Krishna, which are generally accepted as being of 5 types. 1. Passivity or shanta. 2. Servitude or dasya. 3. Friendship or sakhya. 4. Paternal affection or vatsalya. And 5th, amorous love or madhur. First, shanta bhava or the mood of neutrality. The devotees of the first type have nishtha only in the intrinsic nature or swarupa of Bhagwan. In other words, they accept him as Parama Brahma, the absolute truth, and as Paramatma, the supersoul. They are thus called Shanta Bhaktas. Second, Dasya Bhava, the mood of servitorship. Devotees of the second type regard Param Brahma Shri Krishna, who is replete with 6 opulences: wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, as their Lord. Along with having fixed faith in Krishna, like those with Shanta Bhava, they also possess the speciality of a master-servant relationship with Bhagwan. They regard Krishna as the transcendental master. Their mood toward him is known as Dasya Bhava. Third, Sakhya Bhav, or the mood of friendship. Devotees with an aspiration for this third type of bhava regard Shri Krishna as their friend. They are devoid of the mood of awe and reverence, in which one thinks, Shri Krishna is my superior and is worshipful. They already possess the 2 qualities of Shanta Bhava and Dasya Bhava, that is, fixed faith in Shri Krishna and a natural disposition to serve him, respectively. Moreover, they also have a mood of equality with Krishna that is filled with deep trust. Their dealings with Shri Krishna are just like those of friends. Their mood is thus called Sakhya Bhava. Fourth, Vatsalya Bhava, the mood of parental affection. Devotees of the fourth type consider Shri Krishna to be the object of their tender caresses and nurturance. They regard him as their child and maintain a feeling of extreme possessiveness for him. Considering him to be their son, they nurture and protect him. Seeing his restlessness, they sometimes chastise him and sometimes even tie him up, as well as possessing the qualities of fixed faith in Shri Krishna, as seen in Shanta Bhava, servitude, as seen in Dasya Bhava, and unrestricted love bereft of feelings of hesitancy, awe and reverence, as seen in Sakhya Bhava. They additionally possess the mood of being Krishna's maintainer and nurturer, and it is this that predominates. Their mood is thus called Vatsalya Bhava. Fifth, Madhurya Bhava, or the mood of amorous love. Devotees of the fifth type not only possess all the 4 qualities mentioned above, but they also serve Shri Krishna with all their bodily limbs. They are known as Shri Krishna's beloved sweethearts or kantas. Their mood is called Madhur Bhava. Thus, there are 5 different types of devotees based on differences in devotional sentiments. Just as there is an increasing degree of intensity in the taste and sweetness of grapes, sugarcane, jackfruit, and mango, similarly, the sweetness relished and the inherent qualities present in Shanta Bhava are superior in Dasya Bhava. This progression continues from Dasya Bhava to Sakhya Bhava, from Sakhya Bhava to Vatsalya Bhava, and finally from Vatsalya Bhava to Kanta Bhava or Madhur Bhava. The following question may be raised. If there is a gradation of relish among the rasas starting with Shanta, would not everyone be inclined towards the most excellent Madhurati, and would not all other rasas thus be deemed worthless? We see that everyone has an inclination for the topmost object. In answer to this, Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī says, Yathottaram aso svada vishesh ullas mayyapi ratir vasanya swadvai bhasate kapi kasyachit. Sri Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.5.38. Although the nectarian taste of rasa is relished more in Dasarati than in Shantarati, more in Sakhyarati than in Dasarati, more in Vatsalyarati than in Sakhyarati, and more in Madhurati than in Vatsalyarati, still the devotee develops a relish for one rati only, according to his previous aspirations or impressions. According to his past impressions, a person may be attracted to one of the 6 tastes, such as sweet, sour, or bitter, and not have any taste for the others. Similarly, a devotee may develop relish for one of the modes of devotional service, such as Dasya Bhava, due to his past desires, and is receiving in this life the special mercy of a great personality who has the same bhava as he has. Śrīla Jiva Goswami writes in his commentary on the above mentioned verse that the relish of the devotee experiences in the mood of passivity or shanta increases progressively in the moods of servitude or dasya, friendship or sakhya, and so on. Yet, he develops an affinity for one particular mood according to his taste. A doubt may arise here. Who will discern the superiority or inferiority of the different types of rati? Those who have no aspiration at all, or those who are aspiring for just one rasa, are unable to ascertain which is superior and which is inferior, because they have not relished the other rasas. Those who are full of multitudinous aspirations relish many rasas, and thus they also have no ability to discern this. But that person who is totally immersed in just one rasa is capable of doing so. The reason for this is as follows. Although a person may not have tasted other rasas, he will nevertheless understand the features of another rasa by comparing its distinguishing characteristics with his own. By this, he can conclude which factors nourish or impede that rasa. For example, Sri Uddhava is a devotee endowed with Dasya rasa mixed with Sakhya rasa, because his feelings of servitude are prominent. He is known as Dasya Bhakta. Absorbed in his own rasa, he witnessed the abundant, extraordinary spiritual emotions of the beautiful damsels of Vraja in Madhurati. He thus surmised that their attachment is the topmost and therefore prayed to take birth in Vrindavan as a blade of grass or a shrub, so that he may obtain a particle of their foot dust. This has been described in Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10.47. Thus, the different types of rati or attachment have been given different names. In the devotees with a neutral mood, there is Shantarati. In the servants of Krishna, there is Prīti-rati or Dasya-rati. In the friends of Krishna, there is Sakhya-rati. In the parents of Krishna, there is Vatsalya-rati. And in the lovers of Krishna, there is Priyata-rati or Madhur-rati. Text 2c. Transformation of bhava into sthayi bhava and rasa. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. Furthermore, these 5 bhavas, by dint of their respective powers, acquire vibhav, anubhav, sattvic bhav, and vyabhichari bhav as their subjects, along with the opulences coming from them. These 5 bhavas then become kings known as sthayi bhavas or permanent emotions. In association with their respective subjects such as vibhav, These sthāyi bhavas transform into the following 5 rasas with their distinct specialities. First, Shanta rasa, second, Dasya rasa, third, Sakhya rasa, fourth, Vatsalya rasa, and fifth, Ujjwal rasa. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. Here, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura is describing how transcendental attachment to Sri Krishna, that is Sri Krishna Rati, transform into rasa. The previously mentioned 5 types of rati, namely Shanta, Priti, Sakhya, Vatsalya, and Priyata, act like independent monarchs. Through their own respective potencies, they mix with their subjects, which is vibhavas, that stimulate rati, one's inherent relationship with Krishna, and thus cause it to be tasted. Anubhavas, or visible symptoms that illustrate the spiritual emotions situated within the heart. Sattvic bhavas, or 8 symptoms of spiritual ecstasy arising exclusively from Vishuddha Sattva. And Sanchari bhavas, or Vyabhichari bhavas, that is internal transitory emotions which arise like waves from the ocean of Sthāyi bhava, enhance it and then submerge once again into the Sthāyi bhava, and transform into the following 5 rasas respectively. First, Shanta rasa, second, Dasya rasa, third, Sakhya rasa, fourth, Vatsalya rasa, and fifth, Ujjwal rasa. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.5.1 states that bhava, which is resplendent like the best of kings, keeping under its control compatible emotions or aviruddha, such as laughter, and incompatible emotions like viruddha, such as anger, is known as sthāyi bhava. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.5.2 states, only the attachment that has Sri Krishna as its sole object is called sthāyi bhava, or permanent ecstasy. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.1.5 states, when the devotee situated at the stage of Krishna Rati practices the limbs of devotional service such as hearing, the sthāyi bhava in their heart mixes with vibhavas, anubhavas, sattvic bhavas, and sanchari or vyabhichari bhavas. The resulting relish he experiences in his heart is known as bhakti rasa. Thus, this Krishna Rati, otherwise known as sthāyi bhava, becomes bhakti rasa. In the gradual maturation of this Rati, it acquires different names such as prem, snehe, man, pranay, rag, anurag, and mahabhav. All of these are the sthāyi bhava of Krishna bhakti rasa. When the sthāyi bhava mixes with vibhav and other ingredients of rasa, it creates bhakti rasa, which is a most astonishing, relishable state. In his teachings to Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī, Śrīmad Mahaprabhu has said, Sadhan bhakti haite hai, ratir uday, rati gad haile tar, prem naam kai, prem vriddhi krame naam, snehe man pranay, राग अनुराग भाव महाभाव हाय, जैछे बीज इक्षुरस गुड़ खंड सार, त्रत्र शर्करा सिता मिछरी उत्तम मिछरी तार. ए सब कृष्ण भक्ति रसे स्थायी भाव मिले यदि विभाव अनुभाव, सात्विक व्यभिचारी भावेर मिलने, कृष्ण भक्ति रस हाय अमृतास्वादने, जैछे दधी सिता घृत मरीच कर्पूर, मिलने रसाला हाय अमृत मधुर. श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत मध्य लीला 19.177 till 182. When one engages in sadhan bhakti, ecstatic attachment or rati to Sri Krishna awakens within him. When rati condenses, it is called prema. When prema swells, its different stages take the names snehe, man, pranay, rag, anurag, bhav, and mahabhav. This gradual development of prema may be compared to different states of sugar. The sugarcane seed transforms into sugarcane, then sugarcane juice, then liquid molasses, then solid molasses, then sugar, then candy, then rock candy, and finally lozenges. In the same way, all these states of prema are the permanent moods or sthayi bhavas of Krishna Bhakti Rasa, which becomes as relishable as nectar when these sthayi bhavas mix with vibhav, anubhav and other ingredients of rasa. It can be likened to mixing yogurt, sugar candy, ghee, black pepper and camphor to produce a drink that is sweet like nectar. Vibhav, in which rati is tasted and which causes rati to be tasted, is of two types, alamban and udvipan. Alamban, or the support or basis of rati, one's eternal mood. Udvipan, a stimulus for remembrance. Alamban is also of two types, Vishay Alamban, the object of love, and Ashray Alamban, the reservoir of love. Shri Krishna himself is the Vishay Alamban of Bhakti Rasa because the bhakti that resides in the heart of the devotee is set in motion by Krishna's being the object of that bhakti. And the devotee is the Ashray Alamban because the devotee is the abode of bhakti. Furthermore, when Shri Krishna shows affection to a devotee, he becomes the Ashray Alamban of the devotee's rati, and the devotee becomes Vishay Alamban. The flute song, the clouds and the peacock feather are Udvipan Vibhav, meaning they stimulate Krishna rati, dancing or nritya, rolling on the ground or vilunthan, singing or gan, and crying out loudly or kroshan are anubhavas which reveal the feelings within the heart. The ashtasattvic bhavas such as shedding tears and horripilation are also anubhavas. Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura has not herein mentioned the names of various sattvic bhavas, but the compilers of the various Ras Shastra have categorized these ecstasies separately and named them sattvic bhavas. They've done so because the group of anubhavas such as dancing and rolling on the ground may manifest deliberately, whereas tears, horripilation and so forth manifest involuntarily when emotions overwhelm the heart. All the bhavas that manifest from sattva or pure consciousness are known as sattvic bhavas. Although actions such as dancing arise from sattva because they are impelled by the function of the intelligence, they are not regarded as sattvic bhavas. However, becoming stunned and so forth manifest on their own, and therefore they are included in the sattvic bhavas. Still, including actions like dancing among the sattvic bhavas does not result in the fault of ati vyapti or an unwarrantable stretch of a definition or principle. 33 symptoms, jubilation, detachment, and so forth, are called sanachari or vyabhichari bhavas. They are known as sanchari bhavas because they empower the momentum of the sthayi bhava. These sanchari bhavas manifest like waves in the nectareous ocean of sthayi bhava. They make that ocean of rasa swell and finally merge back into it. The sthayi bhava or Krishna rati becomes rasa only when it mixes with the 4 different ingredients such as vibhav and anubhav. It is not true that when rati awakens in someone's heart, he will be able to taste rasa. The ability to taste rasa depends upon impressions from previous lifetimes. It is said in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2.1.6 that only the devotees who have desired pure devotion in many previous lives and also in this life can relish the mellow of devotion or bhakti rasa in their heart. In this commentary on this verse, Śrīla Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura has written, the existence of rati indeed indicates the presence of a recent aspiration for bhakti. However, rati also depends upon desiring bhakti for lifetimes for it to transform into rasa. It is then that it becomes relishable. If someone who is free from offences and who engages in bhajan by taking complete shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Guru attains rati in this very birth, it is to be understood that it is in some future lifetime that he will be able to relish rasa. Śrīla Rūpa Gosvāmī has described the sadhana leading to the development of rasa, the factors that assist the awakening of rasa, and the method of developing rasa. Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu 2:1-7-10 states, "Those who by the influence of bhakti have had all their inauspiciousness completely washed away, whose hearts have consequently become full of delight, eligible for Shuddha-sattva and radiant, that is fully enriched with knowledge, who are always deeply attached to Śrīmad Bhagavatam, who feel perpetual delight in associating with rasik bhaktas, who treasure the happiness of rendering devotional service to the lotus feet of Sri Govinda, which is as dear to them as their own life, who always remain absorbed in the confidential sadhana of developing prema, such as Shravan, Kirtan and Smaran, and whose hearts shine with desires for bhakti from their previous lives and from their current life. For them, the bliss of Rati combines with direct experience of the combination of Vibhav, Anubhav, etc., and becomes highly relishable, thus attaining the pinnacle of condensed bliss." Text 2d. Vrajendra Nandan Shri Krishna is the foundation of all rasas. Sanskrit Bhāvānuvāda. The Shrutis, Taittiriya Upanishad 2:7-1, have also declared, "The original personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagwan, is the very embodiment of the nectar of all transcendental rasas. The living entity attains real happiness by obtaining him. Water is present in streams, rivers, and reservoirs. Nevertheless, the ocean is the ultimate reservoir of all water. Similarly, although other manifestations of Sri Bhagwan, Matsya, Kurma, and so on, and the sources of such manifestations possess rasa, it does not attain complete perfection in them. Rasa attains its perfection only in the personality of Vrajendra Nandan Shri Krishna, the source of all sources of incarnations. That very Swayam Bhagwan, Shri Vrajendra Nandan, manifests in the heart of the sadhaka at the very first stage of the transformation of bhava. At the stage of prema, however, Shri Vrajendra Nandan is fully realized as the direct embodiment of all rasa by devotees who are rasika, or expert in relishing transcendental rasa. Thus ends the Bhāvānuvāda of the seventh shower of nectar named Paramananda Nishyandini, or flow of divine rapture. Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti. The Shrutis, while presenting the nature or Swarupa of Bhagwan, have declared him to be the very embodiment of rasa through the following aphorisms. Raso Vaiṣṇava. The Supreme Absolute Truth is the reservoir of rasa. Taittiriya Upanishad 2:7-1. Prajñānandam Brahma, or the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge and bliss. And Anando Brahmeti Vijñāt. The Supreme Lord is composed of transcendental bliss. Taittiriya Upanishad 3:6-1. Similarly, the Shrutis encourage those living entities who are ardently longing for that bliss by declaring, Rasam hi evayam labdhvavanti bhavati. The Supreme Absolute Truth, Paratattva, is simply rasa. On achieving that rasa, the living entity attains bliss. Taittiriya Upanishad 2:7-1. Although all forms of Bhagwan are by nature full of rasa, still no form other than Swayam Bhagwan, Vrajendra Nandan Shri Krishna, exhibits the complete manifestation of rasa. Some incarnations show a partial manifestation of a particular rasa, but Shri Krishna is the embodiment of all rasas, Akhil Rasamrit Murti. Therefore, it is in him that all rasas find their completeness in every aspect. Water is present in streams, rivers, and reservoirs, but the ocean is the original repository of all water. Similarly, although rasa is present in all other manifestations of Bhagwan, Shri Krishna is nevertheless the original shelter of the totality of all rasas. He is the personification of rasa. All the rasik bhaktas realize him as being rasa personified. In whatever rasa one worships him, one will realize him to be the embodiment of that rasa. Śrīla Bilvamangal Thakur, who worships Bhagwan in the sweet mellow of amorous love, has said, Shringar Rasasar Sarvasam. Sri Krishna is the be-all and end-all of all transcendental amorous mellow, that is, Shringar Rasa. Thus ends the Pīyūṣa-varṣiṇī-vṛtti on the seventh shower of nectar named Paramananda Nishyandini, flow of divine rapture.